boys and girls. Welcome to your reading lesson today. I'm Mrs. Taima, and I'm so excited to get started with part 1 of your reading lesson today. All right, we have so far been learning about Cinderella. Isn't that such a good story? I love reading that. And we've read Cinderella, we've read Cendrillon, and now we get to write about the story Cinderella. I know we're going to come back and do that in part 2. So let's talk about part 1 first. Today in part 1, you will be discussing with Miss Spears what you have learned as a reader and a writer since you read Cinderella and Cendrillon. You will also be thinking about what components make up a Cinderella story. What parts does a Cinderella story have? You're going to be thinking about that. What did you notice about Cinderella and Cendrillon that were the same? Tell your learning partner. I'm sure you had some really good answers, but I don't want to give it away before you learn about it with Miss Spears. So then, after you do that with Miss Spears and talk to her about what you know and what you can do, you're going to make sure that you come over here to slide 3, and you can either write this in your notebook and take a picture and insert that into the slide, or you can type directly into the table here. Okay, this says, insert a picture on this slide from your Wit and Wisdom notebook, telling me what you know and can do as a reader or writer after reading Cinderella and Cendrillon. Okay, or you can type your response in the chart below. Then when we come back for part 2, we're going to be talking more about your opinion paragraph that you wrote about Cinderella. You did the planning yesterday, you filled out your evidence organizer, and you'll need that for part 2, so make sure you have that with you. Okay, I will see you back here soon.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Wit and Wisdom in Sync. My name is Tanisha Spears and I'm excited to jump into our lesson. But before we do, let's make sure you have your materials ready. For this lesson, you will need handout 8A, which is the focusing question task 1 evidence organizer that we used in the previous video lesson. You'll need handout 9A, which is the Cinderella and Cendrillon experience cards. You'll need your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal and a pencil. We will also be using assessment 8A, which is the focusing question task 1, but I'll show that to you on the screen. Pause the video if you need to gather your materials. In previous work, you had an opportunity to take a closer look at the characters in Cendrillon. And today you will reflect on the knowledge you've gained and the skills you've learned from both the Cinderella and the Cendrillon texts. Now, the question that will frame our learning for today is, how do these texts build my knowledge? So today you're going to be thinking about what you learned from both Cinderella, that was adapted by Marsha Brown, and Cendrillon. Okay, friends, remember, after working with each text, you reflect on what you've learned. So on the left-hand side of this chart is where you will write the new information that you've learned. And on the right-hand side is where you will capture the skills that you've learned to do as a reader and a writer. So now think about this. What did you learn from reading Cinderella and Cendrillon? You could think about what you've learned about Cinderella stories, or you might also think about the traits of the characters we read about. Are you ready? Think. What did you learn from reading Cinderella and Cendrillon? Now, share your thinking with your learning partner or just share aloud. Here are a few things I recall us learning. We learned that there are different versions of Cinderella stories, and we know that Cinderella stories have these elements. They have good characters, evil characters, a magical element, and proof of identity. Now let's think about this. What did you learn to do as a reader and a writer? What did you learn to do as a reader and a writer? You could think about this. What did you learn about writing opinion paragraphs? And what parts does an opinion paragraph have? You ready? Think. What did you learn to do as a reader and a writer? Share with your learning partner or just share aloud. Here's something I know you can do. You can write an opinion statement and reasons. All right, friends, in the text that we've explored, we've been looking for elements common to all Cinderella stories. Let's take a moment to review the elements we identified. We said that the elements that are common to all Cinderella stories are good characters, and those are characters who do kind and helpful things. We said evil characters, which are characters who do very bad things. We identified a magical element, which is a magical person, animal, or object that can do impossible or improbable things. We also said there's proof of identity, which is something that shows who someone is. Today, you're going to check to see whether Cendrillon has all of the elements of a Cinderella story. So what I'd like you to do now is think about this. Who are the good and evil characters in Cendrillon? Think. Now, share with your learning partner or share aloud. You may have identified that there were several good characters in Cendrillon. Now, I chose to record Cendrillon on our chart, but you may have identified Paul or Nanine as well. Now, there were also several evil characters. I added Madame, with Cendrillon's stepmother, and Vitaline, her stepsister, to the chart. What was the magical element in Cendrillon? Think. Now, share with your learning partner or just share aloud. Now, although it looks a little different, Nanine also uses a wand to do magic, just like Cinderella's godmother. But now, how did Cendrillon prove her identity when Paul came looking for her at the end of the story? Think. How did Cendrillon prove her identity when Paul came looking for her at the end of the story? Now, share with your learning partner or just share aloud. You may have said it. Cendrillon also proved her identity using a slipper, but her slipper was pink. Now, take a look at the entire chart. Are you looking? Now, think about this. Is Cendrillon a Cinderella story? How do you know? Share with your learning partner or just share aloud. I know you said it. Cendrillon has all the elements of a Cinderella story, and these elements will help you identify similarities and differences between characters' experiences in this next activity. If you need to, pause the video to take a moment to stretch or take a quick break. When you're